So we are now live streaming. So no swear words, because if somebody signs in, they'll see us and talk to us. So no politics either.
Yes.
So it's an exciting time in cameras, I think.
Oh, it is.
With iPhones doing so well, a whole new genre with drones and 360 cameras and mirrorless cameras. Really, mirrorless is a few years old, but really it's just getting the headwinds right now. So
well, the big boy cameras are new to mirrorless.
Yes,
there's a difference there. Because mirrorless has been around for about almost eight or 9 years now.
Well, let's say full frame mirrorless.
What?
Is new. Full frame mirrorless.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
2 years.
2 years. Well, Sony 3 years. Sony's had the 7 series for about 3 years with the full frame mirrorless, but Canon and Nikon are late to the game, of course.
Yeah.
But it's like Apple. Apple's always late to the game, but they always come out with better stuff. They're late. They weren't the first phone, but it came out with a much better phone. They weren't the first music player, portable music player. There were a lot of them, and then they came out with the iPod, and by far much better.
You know what somebody said, and it's true. It's not just you just give service, it's that you give extraordinary service.
Yes.
And that's what Apple has done.
Yeah, well, working in the stores, that is preached on us so much, rehearsed. Behind us, we have to go through classes and rehearsing. And there's Mr. Davis.
Hey, I recognize the face.
He's coming in as Mito. Did you know that? I'm going to rename you, Davis.
We can't hear you because your sound is turned off.
I said, how am I coming in as you, and how are you, Jerry?
I don't know how you came. I don't know how you came in me. I don't know how that works. There was another time that happened. Hey, Davis, do you know how to co-host a Zoom?
How to co-host? I do not.
No?
I'm not co-hosting. I'm not good at that. I don't know.
It's actually all we need for a co-host between you and Frank would be to add people as they come in to join. We have to add them as participants.
Oh, okay.
And then we have to have somebody keep track of the chats to see if there's any questions coming up on chat.
Okay.
Because if I'm presenting, it's hard for me to be doing my slides and looking at
no, I got you.
attendees. So we take the attendees and we convert them to panelists.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So if you don't mind, I'm going to make you a co-host.
That's fine. Yeah. Is Frank joining us, or?
He should be.
Okay. I was just curious.
Okay, so now you're co-host. And as we get participants, you want to open up your participant window. So that should go on the side, the right side of the screen.
Yep.
And as people try to log in, they're going to be up at the top. You got to click them and then add them as a participant. So when the next person comes, I'll let you do that.
Okay.
Because they'll all, if we get 5-10 people, hopefully we get a few people. They'll be piling up in the what do they call it? The waiting window. The waiting room.
Davis.
Yes, sir.
You're still in the work world, correct?
I am.
What do you do?
I am a professional chef by trade.
Chef?
Yes, I'm an executive chef by trade.
Wow.
But now I run my own podcast. I run my own culinary courses. I run the website. I run doing a bunch of stuff. So.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. So, and I teach culinary courses as part of what I do. I kind of do a bunch of different things now, just to, I'm not a 9-to-5 guy anymore if I can help it.
Okay.
I figured, if I'm going to, as I'm getting, closer and closer to retirement, I should probably do what I want to do, not what I need to do, And I have the ability to do it, so might as well do it while I can still stand up.
So you don't shop except at home or demonstrate, correct?
I don't what?
You chop.
Oh, yo, God, yeah. Oh, yeah. I am the cook for the family, so.
Whoa.
And I'm getting a lot of calls. I'm getting really busy actually, because I'm getting a lot of calls for private parties and for doing cooking courses and stuff. So.
Great.
That's neat.
I go into someone's home and I do like a nice birthday party for them or something. So I'll cater into their home and they'll use their equipment and stuff. So it can be good or bad because.
Are you married?
I am married.
And that's nice that you're not working till 2 o'clock in the morning, huh?
It is very nice. It is very nice. Yes, because I've been down that road, getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning and also working really late. So I've been down that road.
Let's have a cooking class for SCAU.
We should. I would love to cater for SCAU. We should here's what we'll do. We'll do a Zoom catering thing. We'll have everybody get there, and I'll just run the Zoom. So
I'm an expert griller. I really am.
Good. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Every Sunday, every weekend at the sailboat, I'm grilling on 3 different grills for 30 people.
Good for you. Good for
All
you.
kinds of
When are you going to do? Speaking of SCAU, when are you going to do like a SCAU party on the boat? No, you think I'm joking?
Well, we can't do it during COVID because it's limited to 10 people.
I was going to ask, was there a limit? And
Yeah.
And does it change based upon boats? I'm assuming it does, based upon boat size.
No, it does not depend on the boat.
Really?
Yeah.
So you could have 10 people on a sailboat or 10 people on a yacht, and it's still 10 people.
It's 10 people.
That doesn't seem to me to make a lot of sense.
Well, I think they set the rule because of the cabin size, that most cabins on the boats are small. Okay, we're at 7:01. We need to get some participants coming in here. Here we go. So you want to add Frank now so you right click on him.
So Frank came in as more. Okay, here we go. Change role to.
Oh, he's already in there. He's already in there.
Okay.
But maybe we can make Frank also a co-host. Let's see. Frank, are you hearing this?
Yeah, I'm hearing every word.
Okay,
Jerry Hug is the co-host now.
I have both. Oh.
Wait, Jerry's a co-host too? Nice.
No, we're gonna make Frank a co-host.
No pressure, Frank.
Oh, the pressure.
Just so you can help out with getting people into the meeting and checking the chat list for questions.
Something says on my screen, practice mode only. Attendees cannot join until you broadcast. Clicking broadcast. I didn't click it.
Aren't we broadcasting?
What is now? Yeah, now we are. It says.
Now we're broadcasting. Okay, so we're going to wait a little bit, get some more people to sign in.
Okay.
I've got a presentation to talk about DSLRs and mirrorless cameras and the technology behind them and how they compare to each other.
Good.
And then I'll just, finish up, really conclude saying that mirrorless is really going to be the future of cameras and that DSLRs will slowly die off.
You think that'll happen?
Yeah, it will, because there's reasons, and I'll explain that.
Okay, I'm interested. Is it going to be PowerPointy or?
No, there's only about 5 slides.
Oh,
but as I was telling Jerry earlier that I have a ton of slides extra that go into stuff like shutter speed, ISO, aperture, focal point of lenses, and your chip size, your sensor size. So if we have questions like that, I can display some good slides that help answer questions.
Yeah, you're not going to do that as part of the presentation, are you? It's like
no, I've got those as extra slides. This
Okay.
is not a class on photography. It's just a class on DSLR and mirrorless, right? We're not going
Yeah.
in full
Okay.
photography class at this point.
Really
It's
quickly,
actually-
I see 5 attendees in. So
Oh.
I right click, right?
Yeah, then
Go
we
to
want to,
panelists
you want to go to more,
I have 9 participants.
and promote to panelists.
promote the panelists. So we want to take all those people and promote them to panelists.
Got that.
David Stern, unmute that, okay. Judith Eber.
Hey, Margaret.
Hi,
Mark.
folks. We're getting started here. We're getting everybody into the meeting.
Hello, hello. I'm just
Hello,
getting set
hello.
up here.
Okay, we got one more attendee there. Judy, we got to get in.
I'm here.
All right, everyone's in.
Okay, Judy's here. Now, there are 4 attendees that don't have the mic on.
That's okay. They can unmute themselves at any time they have a question, especially when we get to the Q&A period.
Okay,
So I think a lot of the folks that are here already know the format of our meeting. The photo SIG will start off with a presentation, in this case by me, and then we'll have a Q&A period where we can talk about really anything that you want to talk about, except politics and COVID, anything related to photography.
up to here, and candidates. Oh my God, the blitz has begun.
No politics there, Frank.
Yeah, exactly. So none of that.
Okay. Well, we've got 11 people in, so I'm going to go ahead and get started.
All right, that sounds like a plan.
So I'm going to go ahead and get started with my keynote presentation and share that out for everybody. And we should now have a full screen with my first slide. Is that what everybody's seeing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All righty. Well, hello, everybody. Tonight, the Suburban Chicago Apple Users Group Photography SIG, we're going to be talking about DSLRs and mirrorless cameras. Now, these cameras are very similar, yet different. And let's go into discussing that. Definition for these cameras, semi-professional to professional cameras that can shoot still, of course, and in recent years, video. Their general uses are just about anything you want to do with the camera. So landscapes, portrait, commercial, video productions, macro shots, just about anything you can do with the camera, these cameras can handle. Their strengths are that they have very large image sensors. They come with a large variety of high quality interchangeable lenses. You can have complete manual control, and I'll try to explain why that's important. They have low light capture capabilities. Of course, there's tons of accessories for these. And the cameras these days have improving stabilization built right in. The weaknesses for these types of cameras is that they are larger, especially larger than something like your iPhone. They are much more expensive. They're not waterproof, except with housings. Like I put a housing on mine to take it scuba diving. They're not as capable of shooting video as a true video camera, especially a professional high-end video camera. And in some cases they do for professional stuff, especially professional video work. You might want to add some gimbals for better stabilization. A comparison of the two types of cameras. We'll go into some picture slides that will show this off a little bit better, but I'll talk through this, this chart here. So both DSLRs, DSLR actually has a mirror, where a mirrorless, just by the terminology, does not have a mirror. Both types of cameras have shutters. and I'll explain what a shutter is and how it works. DSLRs mainly have mechanical shutters, and I'll explain what a mechanical shutter is. Mirrorless cameras have both, most of them these days have both mechanical and electronic shutters. The viewfinder on a DSLR is based mechanically by using a prism that reflects what you're looking at from the mirror up in the prism into your viewfinder. Mirrorless cameras do not have prisms nor mirrors, so what you see in the viewfinder occurs because they have an electronic viewfinder. So in other words, a little TV set that you're looking into. It's actually an LCD screen, of course. And in the backs of these cameras, they do have LCD displays on just about any kind of DSLR or mirrorless camera made in the last 15 years. The difference being that a DSLR, the image that's being displayed on the back DSLR display comes from a secondary smaller sensor that is works through the prism. So it's not as high a resolution and not showing you exactly what you're seeing with the main sensor. And I'll show that more in the image slides. Mirrorless, they use the main sensor to bring the image both to the back LCD display and up to the electronic viewfinder. Any questions on that? Or I'll explain it better with the pictures. I still have folks out there, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Everybody's so quiet. Okay. Well, here you have a single lens reflex. And the reason they call them a single lens reflex is that it's a single lens, and and it's coming back and hitting a mirror, and then going up through a focusing element into your prism. Prism will bounce the light around, and then you're actually looking at what you're seeing through the lens with your viewfinder. So in some ways, it's more accurate to what your lens is seeing than what you would get if you were bringing the image in from a sensor that such occurs with mirrorless cameras. Now, an old film DSLR would have the film would be back here by the film, by this, what is represented right now by the sensor. This is actually would be your film, where your film was passing, being wound around the back of the camera. And the mirror would lift up. When you go to shoot, the mirror would lift up, the shutter would open, and the light would pass through to your film, or in this case, your sensor. And the next slide, we're going to talk about the shutters. So single lens reflex cameras have two shutters, or curtains, as they call them. So you have the first curtain and a second curtain. In this case, you can see that the mirror has now been lifted up, but the first curtain is covering your film or your sensor. In the case of the digital SLR, your sensor. So the first curtain is closed, and this will drop away, allow exposure of the light to go through to the sensor or the film, and the second shutter will drop through and close off the light source. So that's, you can adjust the speed of these things, how they exchange, and the amount of space between the two shutters and the light that is hitting your focal plane. So all DSLRs have these mechanical shutters. Most mirrorless cameras do have mechanical shutters, but then you also have on either, depending on the camera, very few DSLRs have electronic shutters, but some do. And that's just electronically, they would turn the signal on and off for the chip, your imaging chip, your sensor. Now, mirrorless cameras, most of them again have the electronic shutter and the mechanical shutter. The reason that a mechanical shutter is a little bit better than an electronic shutter is that an electronic shutter you tend to get banding depending on your light source, your aperture, your shutter speed. You might get banding in the image. So you'll mainly shoot with the mechanical shutter.
Question?
Yes.
Yeah, Jeff, why is the digital DSLR, why is there a curtain there that intercepts the light?
Why do
would
we
it
have
be this?
why do we have shutter curtains?
Yeah,
Well, because once you lift up your mirror, the light source is going to go straight through back to your focal plane, which could either be your film or your sensor.
right.
And you
So
have to limit how much of that light is hitting your sensor. So that's what the
Okay.
shutter's purpose is to limit how much light and how much time that light is hitting the
I
sensor.
see what, I see what you mean. Yeah. I
Okay.
thought the previous slide was taking the picture, but this is taking the picture.
Yeah, no, this one's blocking it. And this
Right.
one is allowing the light to go through. So the first curtain has dropped all the way past. The second curtain is on its way down.
Okay,
So the second curtain will come down and block the light entirely, and then your picture is done and the camera will reset itself. So the first curtain will go back up, covering the light source. The mirror will drop, and the second curtain will be ready for action up here.
Jerry, I have a question. So does this mean then that with a mirrorless camera, you don't have to worry about sync speeds and the curtain when you're using flash, for example?
No, you still do, because you still have mechanical curtains for the most part in mirrorless cameras also. So you do have to worry about sync speed with your flash. But in the case of mirrorless camera, or actually in the case of both of them, if a DSLR has an electronic shutter, you can have much higher sync speeds for your shutter, for your flash, I'm sorry. So there is more flexibility with a mirrorless camera or a DSLR that has an electronic shutter. Most of them do not. Is that clear?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Let me go on to the next image. Now this is a mirrorless camera. So you can see there are no mirrors. And without a mirror, and there's no prism up here either. So without a mirror and all that mechanical spring-loaded stuff necessary for a mechanical mirror and a prism, the cameras can be smaller. So mirrorless cameras tend to be smaller than their very similar cameras in a DSLR. But in a mirrorless camera, you got the same lens. We're going back to a smaller sensor that is now taking that image and sending it up to an electronic viewfinder. So this is the little LCD panel that you're looking through and looking at. A lot of the newer, better cameras do not have a little sensor here. They actually use the full back sensor. Where on a DSLR, they'll have a secondary smaller sensor up near the prism that brings the image to the back LCD screen. So, but in a DSLR, you're looking through the lens when you're using a DSLR. So it's a matter of choice what you prefer to see. But today's electronic viewfinders are much higher resolution than what they were a few years ago. And they display a lot more information that's very useful that you're looking through. You can look through and see your shutter speed, your exposure, your ISO, everything right through here as you're taking the picture. So it allows you to keep the camera up against your eye and not have to pull it away and look at the back screen to see all that information. You can see it live right in the viewfinder. It's a little easier to read than most DSLRs because they put little tiny displays at the bottom of the viewfinder, which is an optical viewfinder. They put little tiny displays to see your shutter speed or your ISO and stuff like that. But the electronic viewfinder, they can display it because it's You know, you're looking at a LCD screen actually. So the cameras are smaller and lighter. And there are some advantages to having an electronic viewfinder and to working with sensors instead of having an optical. Any questions at this point on mirrorless cameras?
So they come with the sensors as big as the purple.
No, this
line.
would be your, this is the back, this is representing the back LCD display.
I know, but I mean the sensor itself, the smaller one comes almost as big or what?
No, your sensors are based on what type of camera you get. Now you can get full frame sensors, which in technical terms, what a full frame sensor on a camera is, whether it's a DSLR or a mirrorless camera, a full frame, the size of the sensor is as big as a negative on a 35 millimeter film.
Okay,
That's how that term came up, as full frame. Now there's some cameras, you know, higher end professional cameras that have larger sensors and some that have smaller sensors. All the camera companies have cameras that have smaller sensors than full frame because they're could be less expensive and other advantages to a smaller sensor than a bigger sensor. Bigger sensors, of course, give you more pixels,
right.
but they might be less sensitive to light. Where smaller sensor, the pixel size themselves are larger. There's less number of pixels, but the actual pixel is larger, and therefore it's more sensitive to light. So you can shoot a little bit better in lower light than you will with the, let's say, a full frame, higher resolution sensor. Now, I'm just saying right here in this slide that I believe that the future of advanced cameras, professional cameras, is likely to be coming from the mirrorless cameras and not DSLRs. You know, professional cameras started off with film SLRs, and they moved to DSLRs, digital cameras, substituting the sensors for the film, and then allowing us to do Photoshop and stuff like that instead of working with dark rooms and development tanks. But now you're moving to mirrorless cameras. And the reason that I believe that mirrorless cameras are the future is because of having a fully electronic device in your hand. You have less vibration due to a mirror popping up and down. They can be smaller. They can have higher frame rates. So when you're shooting, so you want to shoot an action scene, a sports action scene, and a DSLR, even some of the highest frame rates would be about 15 frames per second. So in 1 second, you can grab 15 pictures. But in a mirrorless camera, because it's electronic, you can go at this point, we can go all the way up to like 20 frames per second. So there are some advantages to mirrorless cameras. And we'll just go to discussion at this point. That was just a very short presentation on DSLRs and mirrorless cameras. And if I do have slides, just to let everybody know, I do have slides that explain what ISO is, what shutter speed is, what your aperture is, and how they work together. And slides talking about your focal length of lenses, and slides talking about different sizes of sensors. So at this point, I'm going to pop out of this presentation and then we'll open it up for discussion and let everybody jump in.
Okay, and I think Ed has a question.
Yeah, thank you, Frank. Jeff, I just want to compliment you. I think it's very clear and excellent presentation. My question, because I've got a old Canon DSLR with a variety of lenses, and I'm just wondering if there's any future for those lenses in I would guess that the EF lens mount thing is probably going to go forward for a while, at least in Canons. But I'm just wondering whether the mirrorless cameras, and I know Jerry's got the 5/4 or 5/3 or whatever they are.
4/3.
4/3.
I'm sorry, 4/3.
4/3.
Yeah, if
Now-
those lenses have any utility in those, so it's just kind of open-ended question.
They do. Both Nikon and Canon and Sony have adapters to allow you to use the older lenses that worked with their digital SLRs. You can now use them with your mirrorless cameras or their newer digital cameras. And the adapters are not too expensive, and they actually work quite well. So you don't lose any of the functionality of the lenses. If they have built-in focusing elements in the lens,
Yep.
and if they have all your aperture, shutter speed, and everything that's built into the lens, I'm sorry, not shutter speed, but aperture and
Right.
focusing, the adapter rings allow all that information to be communicated from the camera body to the lens. So you don't really lose functionality of the lenses.
Good to know.
Yeah, a lot of your investment in these types of camera systems are more in the lenses. You're going to spend more money on lenses than you will the camera body. So it's nice that they can that they're allowing us to move the lenses forward into better camera bodies by using these adapters.
Yeah, and if I could just chime in, I have, my name's Dave. I have the EOS R. I've had it for about a year now. And it came with the adapter ring. It was part of the deal when I bought the camera. It was part of the special deal. But they have different adapter rings too. They have one that has a built-in filter, so you can put ND polarizer filters behind the lens if you want. Those are a little more expensive, but then again, you're limited to using it with EF lenses. And then they have a line of RF native lenses. I've only have one of them right now. And then I have a couple of Lens Baby Velvet, a Velvet lens and a Sol 45, more of an artistic lens. Those are all manual. And the nice thing about those, aside from the fact I have an adapter for all my EF lenses I've invested a lot of money in, is that with a manual lens, when you're manually adjusting the aperture and everything else, it's really nice to have a mirrorless lens so you can see everything through the viewfinder and actually see what the image is going to look like to about 90% until you get it onto your screen by using a mirrorless lens. Plus, you have advantages like focus peaking, where I know with the Canon DSLRs, you could press a button and look at the focus, but having it available in your electronic viewfinder and having some sort of a color-coded highlighting methodology to see exactly where your focus point is really helped me a lot, especially with the manual lenses.
Yep, that's why I say that the electronic viewfinders provide you more information that make it easier and better to take your pictures.
David, what kind of body do you have for yours?
I have the EOS R model. That was one of the first ones that came out.
From
Yeah,
Canon.
it's Canon with, is that a full frame sensor?
Yeah, and then Canon's already come out with the R6. So depending on, there's the EOS R5 now as well. They're two different models. The R5 is more professional focus. It's got like 45 megapixels, I believe, but it's about $1,000 more. But the R6 is more the consumer pro version. That has about 20 megapixels. But that'd be my next camera. Even though I have a few more megapixels now with the EOS R camera, I would go with that for my next body because some of the improvements they made to it.
But that is still a DSLR, so there's still a mirror in it. It's not a mirror.
No. Those are mirrorless cameras.
Mirrorless. Okay.
Yeah, the EOS is the line of cameras. I have a 5D Mark II, so the picture I took that's in my background, I had my camera converted it infrared a while back. But the EOS R is mirrorless. The EOS R5 and the R6 are all mirrorless cameras. The reason I got the EOS R versus the less expensive version, I forgot the model number for that one.
The M's.
Pardon me?
The M models.
No, there was another model they had with the EOS R family, but it wasn't an M model. It was a different full frame camera. It was because
RP.
the RP, yeah. The difference between the RP and the RP is like the R6 now, and the EOS R5 is like the EOS R that I have now. If you look at the comparative models, with my model, and I'm not sure if the Sonys allow this or not, but the nice thing about the EOS R was, and also the R6 and the R5 both have these now, is, you know, when you take your lens off, you have to worry about getting dust into the sensor area because you're up, you know, you're exposing the camera body to that. It actually has a curtain that protects it with the EOS R and the R5 and the R6, but with the RP, it didn't. So when you took your lens off, you actually saw the sensor, so dust could get in there. And if you left your camera on by mistake, that would be a bad thing, no matter what the situation was. But I'm finding I'm spending a lot less time in Photoshop now getting rid of dust bunnies in my images because it has that little protective curtain as long as you keep your camera off. I made one mistake once. I was outside and I was some location and I had the camera on and I go, oh shoot, I put the lens right on top of it shut the camera off right away. And I did have to blow out some of the dust later on, but ever since then, I've never had any issues. So having that additional protection is a nice thing too.
That protective curtain is actually one of the shutter curtains.
Yeah,
It's just held closed.
The only negative thing about my EOS R that I've noticed, for the first time, I was shooting eagles last winter, attempting to shoot eagles. And I had my 100-400 with a 2X extender on it. And maybe it was my methodology or something, but I was not able to get hardly any decent shots of them in flight. And then I was reading that the EOS R was a little slower than the Canon DSLR models in terms of being able to do action shots. But I believe they've improved that with the newer models as well.
Yeah, frames per second. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But I would never go back to a mirrored camera again. Not on mirrorless.
Jerry.
Yes, you know, I was a Canon user for many years, and in fact, I had a Canon 5D Mark III that I converted to infrared, and I had the 500 millimeter top of the line Canon lens. You know, you have a suitcase to carry it around, and I finally realized, you know, I'm getting older, and I don't blow up things more than 16 by 20. So I took another route, kind of followed a friend of mine who's passed away very young, Dennis Arndt. I think David may know Dennis. Just a great guy.
Fantastic photographer and a great guy. He was in my camera club at Elgin.
Photographer, and just a simple thing. And he started me with a GX7. This is a fairly small camera. You can see it's pretty lightweight, very lightweight. And I just have a 14-22. Now this is a half-size sensor. Half-size sensor. So I'm not going to get what your big boy cameras are doing anymore. I gave that up. And then if I'm carrying that and I want to carry another camera, I have a little camera bag. And so here's my another little camera. And this has a 28-280. And it's not very big. As you see by my face, it's pretty small, but it's a half-size sensor. Now, my best camera, my important camera, my big boy camera, is the Panasonic Lumix G9. It is the best camera for, let's say, still photography. I can shoot video, but I don't. And then they have one that's best for video. But I can put on this camera or my bigger one, which isn't that big. I can put on here a 100-400. But because it's a half-size sensor, that's really 200-800. Big time. And it works. Because I only get the best Leica designed lenses, not the cheaper lenses. So I have quality lenses on small cameras, and I'm really satisfied with what I can do. You know, I can put two cameras in this little bag, and I can walk my friends off because they're carrying a backpack and a tripod. And my top of the line one has 2 stabilization in the body, 2, not 1, and a stabilization in the lens. So I've shot a real fine picture of the moon, handheld. So, but it's an alternative to the big boy. And
Right.
you know, when you get to be 80 some years old like me, I kind of
Don't
like
look 80.
I kind of like that. Anyway, and just showing you, in fact, what happened. Lumix and Olympus. Not only did they put, even in the cheapest of cameras, they put Wi-Fi in here, so I can be out in the wilderness and send that picture from here, or pictures, right to my iPad or to my laptop or whatever I've got through the built-in Wi-Fi. The newest ones, of course, have built-in focus stacking. Incredible.
What is that?
I can line up a picture and set up where I want points where I want to focus stack. And this is gonna happen if it hasn't happened in Canon and Nikon already also. So built-in focus stacking, you don't need a separate Helicon focus, which I used to use. And there's some other things you can do also. So this whole world has changed, and some of the little guys push the big guys to get going, and now they're running like wildflower. And I don't know what's better, Canon, Sony, or Nikon. I have no idea. Sony has some great lenses. Okay.
What is focus stacking again?
Yeah, let me explain focus stacking. When you take a picture, you're going to have a depth of field to your image that you're taking. So depending on your aperture and the type of lens that you're using, the focal length of your lens, you're going to have a certain range of the picture that will be in focus. There might be stuff in front of that range that's going to be out of focus, and stuff in back of that range that will be out of focus. So let's say you're shooting a picture of a mountainside, and you're really hoping to get everything within that landscape view in focus, including your foreground images, your foreground elements, I should say, and the mountains in the back, the background elements. So it can be very tricky, even with the high-end cameras, to do that. So hold on, Jerry, I'll finish. But what you can do with focus stacking is that manually what you could do is you would take a picture of the elements in the front in focus, the stuff in the middle in focus, a second picture, and then a third picture to the stuff in back in focus. And then you would merge those 3 photographs and make a photograph, a final image that's completely in focus, front to back. Now the cameras, like Jerry was talking about, some other cameras can do that directly in the camera, which is a nice thing. Go ahead, Jerry.
Yeah, there's one other thing that, you know, I was a 35 millimeter shooter. Then I saw some of Dan Anderson's pictures. Dan from Door County, a retired dentist and very successful photographer. And when I was shooting with large sheet film, 4x5 or 5x7, I never did go to 8x10. I learned about hyperfocal distance because view cameras did not have zoom lenses. And so another little trick, I set all my cameras so I have a tit-tat-toe game in here, rule of thirds, whatever you want to call it. And so if I want to just do a fast, down and dirty, spread that distance, I do it on my iPhone the same way. I take the third, whatever the bottom is, it could be vertical or horizontal, the bottom line, instead of focusing in the middle or some object, you focus on the bottom line 1/3 of the way in, and that extends the depth of field back towards you. So if the foreground is fairly important, you may not get as far to the other way, depending upon your f-stop, whether you're shooting 22 or 11 and so forth. we could do that. Now, here's another thing that we all know about, because most of us are photographers, is that the larger the number, the greater the depth of field.
Right.
And so some people are
Larger
afraid.
the aperture.
So I have another friend, and he's very successful. He was a house painter, and he's just a great guy. And he shoots nothing but JPEGs. He doesn't shoot RAW. And this is Mike Moats. And Mike said, I use the stop all the way down if I have to, 22 or whatever, because I can clean it up in Photoshop. And he's right. And he gets by with it. But so, you know, the rules are there, but now we're extending those rules. And now with the big boy cameras, you're going to have more possibilities than we ever had with DSLRs. I mean, they're just starting in, but they're not going to let little guys like this get in the way. They're going to make it better, and you're going to have more things happening, like focus stacking. You're going to have it, and probably shoot RAW and get focus stacking. If I do focus stacking in here, I have to shoot JPEGs. But you know, if you just lower your standards a little bit, don't tell anybody, oh, you did what? You didn't shoot RAW. I'm just kidding, but
Does that answer your question on focus stacking? Was that Susan?
Yes,
Yeah.
it does. It does.
Okay. Any other questions, folks?
I was going to say that
Yeah.
Tim Boyer, who's a well-known bird photographer, has switched over from Canon to the Olympus 4/3 camera. So he's been promoting that a lot because he just didn't want to have to deal with large, huge lenses, you know, to get the focal length he needed for bird photography.
Do any of the cameras utilize artificial intelligence to do some of the tricks?
I was listening. Say it again.
Do any of the cameras, mirrorless, or even DSLRs, use AI, artificial intelligence? Let's say if you wanted a focus stack, or if you wanted to do a, you know, the longest depth of field on the planet Earth, that it would be able to do the 3 shots it has to do, etc., to put it together.
Yeah, that's basically, they don't call it artificial intelligence. It's just, you know, they have the electronic versions of that in the camera.
Right.
Now you could put a camera completely on program mode or automatic mode and not have to choose ISO, shutter speed, aperture, and let the camera choose it. And it's going to try to do it the best job it can. Whether you want to call that artificial intelligence or not, you know, and then the focus stacking that's built into some of these cameras, it's more based on the level of where you're stacking.
Right.
So I wouldn't call it artificial intelligence yet as we know it in computers, because it's not learning as it goes.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Now, the one thing that mirrorless has, which I thought was interesting, I was attending a webinar that Kathleen Clemens, who is a well-known flower photographer, teaches. She was talking about using multiple exposures. So let's say you had a whole bunch of flowers that are all congregated together in the botanical garden, and you really couldn't shoot an individual flower. She would just take multiple, like 3 or 4 exposures, just rotating the camera in multiple exposure mode on her mirrorless camera. And it would combine everything together, which is kind of artistic, but and I've seen people that have composited images. They take a picture of let's say a flower and then another flower and insert it in the center of the first flower, doing a multiple exposure technique.
Yeah, as opposed to doing it in Photoshop.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we have any other questions out there?
How can you use a standard DSLR to take multiple exposures?
That's done in the camera itself. It has to have the capability. And what it'll do is it'll take one exposure over the top of the same electronic file. So it's superimposing one image on top of the other.
Does it have the light? Does
You
it
do it with an iPhone.
the light in half?
I believe they do when they have it built into the camera. I think it'll cut back on the amount of light that each exposure is
Yeah, of exposure.
delivering to the sensor.
Yeah, and some have the ability of doing, I know my Canon has the ability of doing HDR photos in camera as well. Typically those are JPEGs only, not RAW. So you could do that as well. They'll combine multiple exposures into one image.
The iPhone won't do that though, right?
Not yet. Well, HDR, the
Right,
iPhone
though. Don't they have the
do
HDR?
have an HDR mode in an iPhone, but they don't have multiple exposure
No,
and not focus stacking yet either. But I bet you that comes in a year or two.
or maybe next month.
Yeah, the advancements that are being made electronically or through software on phone cameras is just amazing. So hopefully we'll see some of those advancements being pushed into regular cameras at the same time.
And phone cameras are mirrorless.
You bet.
And the nice thing about the phone cameras is you don't need to worry about focus stacking because just about everything is in focus with a small sensor on a phone.
Frank, you brought up the words artificial intelligence. Whenever you see the word, the two letters AI,
Yeah.
abbreviation for artificial intelligence. And if I've got a problem on my iPhone, if I have a problem with my iPhone, I was taking the other day in the rain, some infrared pictures with my iPhone. And it wasn't just, there was just a little noise in there. So I go to Topaz Studio 2.
Oh, well done.
And then go down there to clean. And I just do the automatic. I don't do anything exotic.
AI clean. It's their new AI clean.
Or if I want to blow the picture up to giant, from here to giant size,
Gigapixel.
artificial intelligence, it works.
Yeah.
Oh, God, yes.
I have the entire Topaz suite now with the exception of the video because I don't do a lot of video, but I just got the AI Enhance. I got the denoise, the Sharpen AI.
Right.
Those are all fantastic programs. There's another program I don't have, that's JPEG to RAW. So if you take an iPhone image, it's in JPEG and you want to convert it to a RAW file or something you took in JPEG, you can do that as well. Those are phenomenal programs.
Does everybody in the audience understand what the difference is between a JPEG and a RAW to them?
I do.
I do.
Most people nodding, but I can't see the people who don't have their videos on.
I think I do, yeah.
Okay, just so you understand, a JPEG is a compressed file. So they're trying to make the actual file size smaller so you can fit more on your cards and on your hard drives. And when it's doing that compression, it eliminates certain things to make the file size smaller. So you're not getting all of the data in the raw file, in the JPEG file itself. Now, a RAW file does not eliminate any data from the camera. It takes every piece of data, whether it's exposure, and it puts it right in the RAW file. The advantage to a RAW file is that you have more capabilities post shooting the picture in programs like Photoshop or Affinity Photo or other applications to adjust it yourself or through artificial intelligence after the fact. So your better cameras will allow you to save images as a RAW file. And if you have the choice, save it as a RAW file because storage space, that's really pretty cheap these days.
So
Unless you're Mike Moats.
what do you think the process, what do you think the process is of turning a JPEG into a RAW file? Because the data has been eliminated forever from the JPEG. Okay, it's not there anymore after it's compressed. And so when you turn it into a RAW, what happened? Do they sort of like double the pixel tones as throughout the picture to?
I don't know, David, do you know what they're doing with that?
I don't know. I've seen demonstrations. There's if you've heard of David Kelly,
Yeah.
go to YouTube, David Kelly's channel. He has he does a lot of vendors, not just Topaz. He's not a Topaz only person, but he has a little 20-minute webinar he put together on YouTube on using JPEG to RAW. And from what I saw, the results were phenomenal. I don't know how they do it technically, what they're doing, but whatever they're doing, it worked. The results are really good. So if you have a need to do that, it comes in really handy to do that.
But Frank, you're right, Frank, is that when you capture an image of JPEG, that extra data, it's gone.
And it's all processed.
Yeah, so I'm not too sure what they could be doing to convert it to a RAW. It has to be some manipulation to make it seem like a full RAW file, but it's not quite. But it sounds like it does a pretty good job.
I have
What
an
I
old,
do on my
I have an old
G9
camera that does TIFF as well as JPEG. TIFF is kind of halfway between, it's compressed, but not very compressed. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah, that's a larger file. It's not as compressed. In fact, I'm not sure. Well, it's not all, yeah, it's compressed a little.
What I do in my G9, I have 2 slots for SD cards. So I shoot on one slot JPEGs, on the other slot RAW. Okay. If I'm only out with my iPhone and I see something that I think is going to be a spectacular picture, I will shoot it in RAW on my iPhone. And I can do that. And most of the good applications will handle a RAW file and not degrade it. So it's RAW is better in the long run, no question about it. But if you lower your standards like I do, you know,
It's just fine.
I'm just having too damn much fun.
So does the iPhone automatically record in JPEG, or where is the setting to change it from RAW to JPEG and vice versa?
No. There's no setting to change. Oh, to change from RAW to JPEG, that's just automatic. But I don't shoot RAW that much. But I have 4 applications that I can. So instead of shooting the Apple application, I should sometimes shoot a JPEG instead of the Apple. And then I can also shoot RAW in about 3 applications that I have. I can shoot RAW, which
Camera 2 is one of them, right?
Camera 2 Plus.
Camera 2 Plus, yeah.
yes, Camera 2 Plus, Pro Camera is another one. Lightroom Mobile is you can shoot with Lightroom Mobile. You can shoot with the that's Adobe, so of course it's a DNG file, which is RAW. Yeah.
So Marcia, the answer to your question is that through Apple software, I don't know that you can shoot it in RAW. You have to use one of these other apps to capture it as a RAW image.
Okay, so it does default to JPEG.
Well, it defaults in the newer phones. It defaults to HIC. HIC.
Yeah,
Mhm.
which nobody knows what it is as you try to upload it to Facebook. You've got to change it.
They're catching up. They're catching up to HIC. HIC
So
is a compressed file, but it's compressed in it with a different algorithm, so it makes the image the file size is even smaller than a JPEG.
yeah. And Hayek started with iPhone 11.
I think with the 10.
Yeah, I think it was a 10.
It turns out to be an 8-bit file rather than a 6-bit file that JPEG is. So there's still a few problems. I've shot both ways. I'm not fully convinced on the Apple file, but I do it both ways. I don't know yet.
Okay. Another question. On your iPhone, they have the albums that have people, people who have been tagged. And when I compare that with the people in my photo app on my Mac, they're not, the same number. and maybe it's because I don't sync with my Mac that often, but I went into the iPhone and I was trying to update who certain people were in pictures. And so say for instance, George, maybe there was only 23 pictures, and then it went through and tried to find some more pictures once I labeled George as George, but then it pulled in a picture that wasn't George, and I couldn't figure out how to get that out of, George as a person. Does anybody know how to do that?
In the Photos app?
Go to the original photo and face tag it the right name.
Mark,
Okay.
Inside the Photos application on the computer, you can, if you have an image of somebody that's recognized with the wrong name, you can go in there and correct it. And that will also assist the Photos app into identifying that person better, because it has more images of the right person.
And Mark,
So you said you have to
Marcia?
do it on the Mac as opposed to doing it on the iPhone?
Yeah, do it inside the Mac, and in the Photos app, it's easier.
yeah,
Marcia?
but now, Marcia, do you have your Mac Apple ID the same as your iPhone Apple ID?
Yes.
Okay, then it should sync accurately between it, because it does with mine. My Mac has all the photos and it's on the phone, that are on the phone, and on my Mac the faces are correct, etc., and the phone too.
Marcia,
Uh-huh.
go to jerryhug.com, JERRYHUG.com. This is Ask Jerry. You ask me, and I'll send you the application that shows all the metadata of your iPhone picture. Okay, that's important.
Okay.
Everybody understands what metadata is, right?
It's the way they do all that.
Now we bring up all these new terms of photography terms. I just want to make sure everybody understands a term when we bring it up.
Yeah, a good idea.
I have a question, since it's a Mac users group. I have an iMac 27-inch that I bought several years ago.
Mhm.
And it's got 3 terabytes of data in it built in. It's like an SSD drive built into the iMac.
Mhm.
And I'm now looking at my storage, and I'm about 800 gigabytes left of storage. So I'm getting to that point where I got to think about, well, I don't want to get a new iMac. This is running fine. It's not giving me any problems for what I'm using it for. What kind of, I know there's solid state storage, and there's disk-based storage, and there's arrays. And I used to have a Drobo, like an early Drobo model for external storage.
Mhm.
What are you doing now at the point where you get less than a terabyte of storage? And with the storage these cameras take today, it's
Well, do you
it'll
put
go
your
down
photos?
pretty fast.
You
Pardon?
put your photos inside your Mac?
Yeah, they're inside in the internal storage in the Mac.
I don't do that. I have my photo library is on an external hard drive
Yeah,
that my photos go to and copy
Right.
things to.
Right.
So when I take a photo, it automatically goes to an external hard drive I have for photos, and the time, there's not really a big difference in the transfer time from an external to versus your
Right.
internal. So I don't have any of my music. I don't have any of my photos and my downloads, which I keep. They're all on an external drive, and then I
Right.
put those in the Finder so that when you're looking for downloads,
Yeah.
that's where it goes.
And I pretty much used to have that with my Drobo system, but that was kind of slow. You had these SATA drives that were stacked together, and they would replicate so that, if one drive went bad.
Yeah, well, you did a RAID thing with it, so.
Yeah, and it was real
Yeah.
simple because it was a Drobo, so there wasn't a lot of maintenance I had to deal with it. And now I don't have that anymore.
I would look, David, I would look at an SSD, honestly, because
Yeah.
anything less mechanical is always better
Right.
as your primary drive, and then go to a local regular hard drive, spinning drive as a local backup. But then
Yeah.
if you're talking about something like pictures, something that's that important, have some sort of a cloud service or something as an absolute
Yeah,
backup.
yeah.
So then you're all covered. But from my opinion, I mean, I would go away from anything mechanical from just a daily driver perspective.
Yeah, and I have a cloud service I've been using now for like $5 a month. It backs up everything. There's no limit
Oh,
on it.
perfect.
So it backs everything up that I have, except for the applications, but it backs all the data up. So that's all backed up regardless. And yeah, I think that's right. I think with the price of storage now, especially the actual storage in my current iMac, it's the original iMac 27-inch Retina display.
Mm-hmm.
It's an SSD. It's not hard drive. It's not
Right.
a
It's a
spinning
great,
drive.
great terabyte. I have the same.
It's not a
thing.
Fusion drive.
All right.
It's not a Fusion.
I don't
No.
believe so.
No, the Fusion drive is a sort of a short-lived in between SSDs
Yeah.
and the spinners, because you only had 128 gigs of SSD and then the rest of the spinner. But I got the 3 terabyte on an iMac Pro SSD. And I'm down to 8 too, but that's because I'm an application junkie,
Right.
you know, and the apps are on there. But if you look in the Mac and look at, you know, how big is your iPhoto or photo library that you have in the computer, just copy it over and
Yeah.
delete it, and then tell Photos, go here.
Yeah. Well, I do everything in Lightroom, so all my storage is on a specific folder that I have set up. So it's pretty easy to keep track of it. And I used for the folders, I put down the year, the type of image or where the location was, and then I have the actual date, so I can look at everything I did in 2020. And
You can move your whole pictures file.
yeah, that's what I'll do. Yeah, it's Stern Photo Library. That's what I call it. So it's
Was
pretty
your Drobo a Thunderbolt 3 Drobo? Or
no, mine was not the Thunderbolt.
That was
It
the
was a
USB.
regular USB
That's,
model.
that's why it was slow. If you got a newer server, you know, Drobo or another
Yeah.
RAID system that would be a Thunderbolt 3, it won't be slow for you. So
Yeah,
you-
whatever Thunderbolt I have that came with my iMac should work fine with any of them. But I've seen a lot of the SSD models too. I
Yeah.
guess probably the path I'll go to.
David,
Yes.
I have 2 Drobos,
Okay.
and I finally realized I was having some problems when one goes out, and then you put another one in, and then you have to wait for it to catch up, and then so all 5 have it on. And I was listening to Rick Salmon one day, and I said, "Do you still have Drobos?" He said, "You mean Slobo?"
All right. Yeah.
Because if one drive goes out until you put another drive in to rebuild from the other 4, it could be 5 days.
Right.
And the problem is how it runs is an internal control thing by that company,
Right.
where
Right, Terry.
my good friend Dan Anderson has 3 big hard drives. I think maybe, I don't know how many terabyte. One's in the bank vault, 2 are at home, and he's constantly copying. I forget what he uses to copy. And then every month he switches one out, puts one in, and to avoid, and my Drobos are sitting there right now, and I've got to get images off of there.
Yeah.
So I'm slowly getting away from Drobo,
Yeah.
and I'll sell you real cheap 2 more.
That's okay. I use you ever hear Backblaze?
Backblaze.
Backblaze, that's
That's the service that I use.
the cloud.
Yeah.
And so $5 a month and you get,
Unlimited. They could be multiple drives. I could have external drives and I could have internal drives, and it wouldn't matter.
so it's
I was
unlimited.
going to ask,
drive.
did they change that? Because that didn't used to be the case, so that you can have an external drive
Yeah,
backed up. So, okay, that's cool.
absolutely. It's just that applications they don't back up.
Right.
And you can have multiple computers if you want to.
The drive has to be directly connected. It can't be a network attached storage. So Drobo, no, but a directly connected one, that's fine. And it doesn't have to stay permanently connected. It has to like connect every 30 days or something. They have like a time limit on it. So if you have, you know, a couple of drives that you kept connected periodically, you could get those backed up as well.
That's got to be new, because that wasn't the case for a while. So that's good to know.
Mhm. Yeah, no, it's fabulous. You can't beat
That
it.
sounds perfect, like $5 a month. That's
And
nice.
if you lose your data, they'll send you a hard drive with all the data if you want. you know, because, you know, if you have a lot of storage, like I do with my pictures,
Mhm.
you're not going to want to download it all, you know, through the internet. You're probably going to want to just have them send you a drive, if that becomes the case. Now, the only problem is they're based in California, so who knows? It's like,
Yeah, well, hopefully that won't break off and sink, but
yeah.
Forest fires.
yeah, there's that, but, well, I'm imagining they have a server farm all over the planet rather than in California.
They've got several sites.
Yeah,
That's
So-
good.
hopefully Backblaze has Backblaze to Backblaze itself.
They've grown like crazy too.
Okay,
Any other remaining photo questions about anything photography from anybody?
we're good.
All right, well, we're over an hour now. So if there's no other questions, we can call it adjourned and hopefully
I got one more.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
Does anybody have a recommendation for a collage application? Right now I'm using Diptych to put together like pictures of masks that I'm making and, you know, kind of make it into a little video clip, short video clip. And I was just wondering, you know, did anybody have any recommendations of anything else?
Oh, Collage Pro. Actually, no, Collage 3 Pro.
Okay.
A Colagelt 3 Pro, I'm sorry. COLLAGELT 3 Pro.
Okay, and that's a iOS app.
No, it's a Mac app.
Oh. And why do you like that one? I recommend it.
Well, because it's automatically, for example, you can take a portrait photo, and then you can put it in your all photos, point the program to your all photos, and it will take every single photo, shrink it down to become that portrait photo in the collage. Or you can just make a regular collage at any size you want and any shape you want. So that's why I like it. I mean,
Why would you want to shrink the pictures down? I'm not understanding that concept.
Well,
it takes the colors and automatically matches the colors to the tonality of the flesh and the face. Okay. And then, and each one of those pictured photos become the face. And it's, if you actually look at it close up, you can see each photo in that face.
that's a little different concept than just a standard collage.
Yeah, standard collage, but it works. That's why I like it. That's the only reason I like it. But it does work, like just pick 6 or 8 photos and make it do a flower, or make it do a pattern, or make it do a random.
I think what she's speaking to more here is just to take a bunch of photos and arrange them in a single shot.
Well, this Diptych, it has what it calls animated collages. And so it shows like 4 pictures, you know, in a collage, but you can actually put up to 9 pictures in it. And, you know, it has transitions, and you can change the borders, and you can add text over it, and it makes it into a little short video clip, you know, still pictures.
So it's a slideshow.
Yeah, basically.
It's more of a slideshow than a collage maker.
Well, I mean, it does the still collages, but it also has the animated feature, you know, to make it into a little short slideshow video.
You know, there's several apps out there that can do that. I forgot, I've got one that's, let me see if I can remember what it was. But it's really a full end slideshow prep application. Trying to remember what it was. Go ahead, keep talking, I'm looking.
I'm looking to.
While you guys are looking, I'm wondering if anybody was courageous enough to download iOS 14 today.
I did. And you
Gary's
know what?
downloading right now.
It didn't do anything.
Once I got it,
I mean,
it was really delayed today.
actually not for me, but I didn't get that library.
Yeah, I
Yes, you
did
did.
it a few minutes ago,
Yes,
or
you
like
did.
an hour
Wait
or
a
so
minute.
ago. It just
Wait a
keeps
minute.
sliding over from.
It
right
You got to
to
play
left.
with it, Frank.
Okay. Okay, it still has all my other stuff on it though.
It's like a big block of modeling clay. You have to put your own fingers into it.
So do is there a setting for library then in settings?
You can turn off viewing. If you have a bunch of pages, you can turn off viewing all of those additional pages. You kind of hide them. You don't have to move anything, but there's a setting somewhere to turn them off.
So is
So
that,
if you deep press on the lower right or left hand corner of the screen, of the home screen,
okay,
it will pop up for you. And it should give you a note the first time you see it.
Mhm.
no, that's not it, that's a camera.
And you'll see when all your applications start wiggling, you'll see a plus sign at the top.
Oh,
When you hit that plus sign, that's where you'll see the widgets come up. And then if you deep press on the line of pages,
wait a minute. I'm not sure I understand your terminology there.
okay, so okay, hold on. This is not an iPhone SIG. I'm just saying. All right.
Yeah, right.
So get to the point to where your screen is wiggling like this. That's the deep.
Oh, that's the delete thing.
Okay.
Okay.
Then you see that line of pages that comes up, tap that. Then the screens will appear that you can actually hide. I think I said deep press, which was a mistake.
Okay, so here's edit home screen.
And now tap that line of pages. And you should see those pages appear.
Oh, okay, that didn't work. Let me try something else.
I'm going to show Marcia Photo Magico 5. I'm going to share my screen for it. So
Oh yeah, Photo Magico, that's for slideshow, yeah.
Yeah, it's really a high-end slideshow application. And let's see. Can you see that screen over here, Marcia?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so this is a high-end slideshow app where you can arrange your slides and do all kinds of different special effects. You can put in music, you can do all kinds of different things. Titling and
And
So you-
that's only a Mac app.
it's only a Mac app, yes. Although I think they might have an iOS version.
Marcia,
Have an iOS version?
Marcia, answer your question about DipPic. I've used it, and I know you're under your question about it. I just looked up on my iPhone in where you buy applications or get applications.
Mm-hmm.
There are 15 different collage apps for your iPhone, your iPad. 15 different ones. I'd have to really study that. Because I don't do that. So you don't buy 15, but look at how people respond to it. Do they call it a 4-star or a 2-star, or there's problems? So be kind of careful how you buy another one.
Okay.
I've got one question for everybody. What would everybody like to see in another SIG presentation? Do we have any ideas?
Have we gone through the ones we already gave you?
No, we've got more. We've got more in line, but I want to take a poll. This is your meeting, not ours.
Right.
I'd be curious to see what iOS 14 has in the way of iPhone changes, things you can do in iPhone with the iPhone, with
The
iOS.
iPhone camera.
I don't think there were many changes, not in iOS.
What we could do is, I have the iPhone 11 Pro Max, and I probably will have the 12 that comes out. if you want to wait till the 12 comes out, or if you, what vintage is your,
It's just an 11, not a pro.
7?
An 11, not a pro,
Well,
plain 11.
okay, the camera, yeah, I don't think the 12 is gonna have, unless they do what I said about, you know, the focusing and stuff.
Focus stacking.
Focus stacking or something. We don't really know what we're gonna have there, but yeah, we could do an iPhone camera expo, you know, how to, maybe some shots we took, maybe
I don't think there's much changes, Susan, as far as iOS 14. I don't think that was the concentration on with the upgrade. It was more the interface and everything, and
Right.
not the Photos app.
If,
Hey, I would second that idea though about like ProCam and some of the other cameras that people use on their
Yeah,
iOS
that's a
devices.
very good idea.
A little bit deeper dive, maybe not just flash through it, but actually kind of devote half an hour or something like that and really show how the thing works, or maybe
yeah,
20
I could
minutes.
present, I'm doing Zoom presentations all over the country right now. I have 2 in October, one in New England, and I think I would ask that you respond to Jeff, some things that you would want to get out of that, not just I do my typical thing, because you all have different photo interests, but most of you carry this thing in your pocket wherever you are. You may not have your big boy or big girl camera with you, and I can come up with an outline. I have an outline, but I don't want to just create my own outline. I would want to know what some of you want. And Margaret is pretty sharp on a lot of this stuff too, and I would probably get her involved in it. And but I do these. You know, if you look at my website, I had all these things set up to do workshops all over, all gone, and so now it's all Zoom. That's what it is.
Well, you know, to piggyback on that, I think, Jerry, you know, ProCam and
No. Pro camera.
Pro Camera, sorry. Pro Camera, the
Camera plus
Adobe
2.
Capture, Adobe Capture, Slow Pro, Camera 360, which sort of imitates the 360 that Jeff did the other day. And there's a bunch of them that I've got on here that I've tried that
Now you're talking about shooting apps.
shooting cameras, correct.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you could do like a bunch of those, you know, comparisons.
Yeah.
If you want to do that, that would work.
Well, and also, you know, a simple thing of how to hold the dang thing still, number one. Number two, this is big, really big. And if most of you know it, but some of you may not, how to shoot manual. How to manual focus. How to focus if you don't have time for manual. So there are some things that you can help your camera in your pocket get better pictures when you're stranded and something happens, you want to capture it, and you want to capture it so you don't have to edit as much, correct?
Yeah, right.
Same thing with exposure settings. There's so many deep settings in the camera on the iPhone that most people have no clue about.
Yeah.
We can cover those.
Yeah, I'd really like to hear about those more.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Good idea.
So, dissecting the iPhone camera.
Okay.
Jerry, have you done a session on infrared photography on the iPhone yet?
Last time.
Yeah, last time we did it.
I missed that. That's the first time I've been in the meetings.
David, I'll send you.
It's been recorded. It's been recorded and it's up on YouTube. David, you can go out and
Okay.
see what he talked about.
Subscribe to the group. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, by the way, speaking of that, did you get that thing I posted on Community about some of the software that does actually infrared imitation, I guess, or
Yeah, it's not very good.
no?
No.
No, just get the little lens and do it real. Right,
Yeah,
Jerry?
now I not only have 720 nanograms, I have a
Yep.
690, and I have some other
Nanometers.
I can use filters for more color, because when I shoot here, I shoot color. This is converted to exaggerated color, and then converted to black and white with some conversions and swap channels, and David knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But and I'm finding out that because I have the moment case, you can't see it, but you can see where I can snap on the lenses.
Mhm.
And I have one set where I can just put in right away a wider angle. It's wonderful. I can put in the telephoto. I can put in the only one I can't put in, I can even put the special video lens. The only one that doesn't work is the brand new, which is a truly total circle fisheye. I have the old one, which cuts off the corners, and I can put it on, and it works pretty good. The brand new one, they haven't worked that out yet.
Does the moment cases work with the 10S model, which is the one that I have now? And then the only question is if I go to the 12 model.
All you have to have is one of the moment cases.
Okay.
That's all you need.
And the lenses will work with whatever phone you have, as long as you have the proper case for it.
Yeah. And you don't have to use the moment. If you just want to use the lenses that are built in, or one lens, you get the 37 millimeter moment screw-in filter,
Mhm.
and you're ready to go.
Okay. Yeah, because I have I have this case right now. It's a UAG heavy duty case, but it just has the telephoto and the regular lens in it, if you could see it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, David, take a look at what Jerry presented.
I'll do. I'll take a look at all the webinars.
Yeah, it's very good.
Hey, Jerry,
Yes.
you told me to contact you through your webpage about, was that tagging people in the photos? What were you gonna send me? You remember?
The data.
The data?
Metadata.
I'm
Oh,
going to send you the application that gives you the metadata.
Okay, application for metadata.
Yes,
Okay,
see the metadata that's associated with the photo that you take on your iPhone.
okay.
It'll give you
Gotcha.
yeah, okay.
Okay, well, thanks everybody for joining tonight.
Great
Okay,
time.
see you next month.
We'll see you next month, but remember, we've got an iOS SIG meeting coming up, and then the main meeting right after that.
Good.
So
Yep.
we'll see you all there. And
Stay
y'all
safe,
next
wear a
week.
mask, wash your
everybody,
hands.
stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll talk to you all soon.
So far, the virus doesn't work in cyberspace, but who knows?
See you later. Bye. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Bye.